Hello, Facebook Live. Steve Sipress here, Thursday, April 20th, 2017. And I heard the news today, which I have a feeling, especially we're here on social media, probably lots of people heard this. Really earth-shattering news in the world of news. Bill O'Reilly, who was like the figurehead of the Fox News channel, the conservative, right-leaning one main station that doesn't violently lean to the left. And he had the #1 time slot, the #1 show, and obviously I'm sure everyone out there is more of an expert than me on him and the show and the whatever. But it's a pretty big deal that he was, well, I mean, technically, was he fired, ousted, removed? Technically, I think they worded it like he agreed. They agreed he would leave. All that kind of nonsense. Basically, he's good. He's ousted. I mean, I think the press release I read said that he recently signed a extension of his contract. So I'm not, too keen on believing that someone who just signed a 4-year extension on a contract would suddenly just quit in the midst of a brouhaha over losing advertisers and lawsuits and settlements and all kinds of whatever. Like, this is about as clear a firing as a dismissal as a whatever. But I digress. I'm not a legal expert in what's going on there, but it is a shocking thing. Anytime the #1 of anything suddenly departs from their platform. So, it's similar things happen when, so-and-so is caught cheating and loses an Olympic medal, or so-and-so is impeached I remember, Nixon impeached, he's gone, like, so it's a big deal. Now, obviously, a news broadcaster hardly as big a deal as a president of the United States, and maybe, though, a slightly bigger deal than a baseball player or whatever other example I just gave. But in the world of news broadcasting, he's like a big deal. But here's the point. And I think also that I read he claims that like there's no basis that I ever sexually harassed or whatever he's accused of doing, or they settled all these suits, that I ever did any of that. It's all false and whatever. Like, what do you expect me to say? So whether it is or not, I'm not here to comment. If, of course, it is, and if there's any shred to anything that he did that's despicable, and there's certainly no defending that nonsense. And it's sad and unfortunate that sometimes, often, people that are in power, powerful positions in life, feel that the laws don't apply to them, that they can, that they should be powerful in other areas, and they should just take what they want and do what they want. And, we've certainly seen that elsewhere recently with somebody else who 10 years ago said something and now is in a fairly powerful position, right? But I digress. So here's my point, though. Whenever I would turn on the Bill O'Reilly show to watch this, I never, I didn't pay too much attention to the, because I'm a marketing expert. So just about any business, and you'll know that if you're watching any of my daily Facebook Live videos or reading any of my blog posts, my magazine, or emails, or anything I've been doing here on social media for, I don't know, 5 or 10 years or whatever, or been to any one of my hundreds of seminars and events I've hosted, that I look at everything under with the focus on the marketing. And so I didn't pay that much attention ever to who's his guests, or, what topics is he covering, or what's, whatever. I mean, those come and go anyway. Whatever topics seem monumentally breaking news important today is forgotten about, tomorrow anyway, and certainly a year later and whatever. But one thing that is not to be forgotten, especially by me, and shouldn't be by you as a small business owner, whether or not you ever watch the show, I'm going to share it with you now, and it's something that every business owner should do. It's a measure of security. If anything does suddenly happen in your business, to whatever platform you're on, or even if you have a job or employed by something else, like in this case, it's something you ought to do. So Bill O'Reilly was not on the Fox News channel as his own business. He didn't own the Fox News channel, although he probably, single-handedly is responsible for making them who they are. I don't know if he joined them like when they started, or if it was soon after. It was kind of, I think, very soon after. He was either there at the start or very close after, but there's no doubt that, like, Yankee Stadium, the the nickname is the house that Ruth built. That like Babe Ruth put all the people in the stands and made them all that money, and then they could take it and build a new stadium. And I don't think there's a doubt that the Fox News Channel is the station that Bill O'Reilly built. And we'll see what happens going forward to their ratings or their other show. You know, will people stick by it or watch the other shows, or where will he land up? Will he go somewhere else? I mean, I don't know, he's got to be like 70 or something. You can see how well he prepared for this. I don't really, again, know all the facts, but he's probably around 70, and he probably has around, like, you know, over $100 million in assets in the bank or in investments and whatever, because I think what I read was he's being paid $25 million a year. I don't know for how long, but this is the point. That's just his salary from the TV show. Then he's brilliant to have his own website, BillO'Reilly.com. And so whenever I would watch the Bill O'Reilly show, O'Reilly, the O'Reilly Factor, the O'Reilly Factor, O'Reilly something that it was called. I always loved watching the last 5 minutes or the last few minutes of the show, because man, that's when all the marketing just came out of the woodwork like crazy, and it was awesome to see this guy. Now I watch all kinds of different channels and shows and whatever. I love to see all the different wacko, you know, these days everyone has an agenda. So there's wacko on the right, wacko on the left, and I just love to always see how the other half lives. And I'm like, really? There's people that really believe that? And there's people that really believe that, but not only believe that, like that's to the core of their being. So I love seeing all the different aspects, and that's one thing I love about social media. Like I got wackos always coming onto my page that I'm friends with in real life or going way back that are unbelievably, you know, have unbelievably far right agenda, unbelievably far left opinions about everything, and I'm like, really? Like, really? But anyway, these last few minutes, Bill O'Reilly, priceless lesson in marketing. And now I realize, although maybe you can find episodes online somewhere to replay, you probably can, I guess I should have posted this before. If I had any inkling, he'd be gone. Because it's a masterful example of brilliant marketing. This guy's an employee of the company, and somehow must have been in his contract, or you know, they allowed him to promote all his own stuff. I don't see that when I see anybody else on any other channel. You don't see, like, you know, here I am, you know, Jake Tapper, and go to jaketapper.com and buy this and do that. Whatever. You don't see all that. You don't see all that with, you know, network news and even, you know, hey, it's Good Morning. Hey, here's Matt Lauer. Go to mattlauer.com. You don't see it on the talk shows. You don't see it from even, you don't see, you know, Jimmy Kimmel going, like, go to jimmykimmel.com. I mean, anyone on any type of show at all, you really just don't see this. But Bill O'Reilly unabashedly was like promoting all his stuff. And I was like, here we go. I'll be watching my beautiful wife, Michelle. And if she was here, she'd be laughing, because here comes the end of the show. Finally, at the end of whatever was going on. Now I'm ready for the marketing part. And watch this. First, we got to plug, I don't know what order, but of course we got to plug the website. So go to BillO'Reilly.com and tell me what you think, or send me an email, or do whatever. And that's where you can also become a member. You can become a member of whatever he would call it, the BillO'Reilly.com membership, and you would get a free book that I wrote. Oh, and you got to plug the book. Here's my latest book, and it's #1, and you can get a free copy by, I don't know if it was signed or not, I don't remember. You know, get a free copy by going to my website, BillO'Reilly.com. Not go to FoxNewsChannel.com or whatever their website it is. Go to my personal website. So this is what is known as driving traffic. So he's driving the traffic. Traffic meaning eyeballs, visitors, viewers of the TV show that have come to a cable TV station, and he's driving them away from the cable TV station and to his personal assets, to his personal website, to his personal membership group, to personally buy his books that he's written. That I remember him saying always, all the proceeds, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, put a comment on it here if you're not on here live. You know, of course I could look it up too, but I think he would always say that the proceeds go to charity from people becoming a member, buying his books. I think, well, you're making $25 million a year, so every week he's taking home pretty much $500,000. I mean, kind of a nice salary, right? How many people here even make half? I think you're almost in the top 1% of America making $500,000 a year. This guy gets that every single week, and if he gets paid bi-weekly, like most companies pay, he's getting $1 million in every check every 2 weeks. That's pretty good money. So you can afford to, he could afford to do, if that's what he did, and give all the money to charity for sales of books, membership, whatever. But who knows, once he's now off the air, could he say, Now I'm no longer donating those funds to charity because now I have no source of income. Again, he's likely to have many cash producing assets and he can live off the interest like a king forever anyway. Or there's almost no doubt that he can get a job on some other station or on some internet broadcasting thing or set up his, what the heck, he could set up his own network. I think he might have trouble getting advertisers, at least in the beginning here, because that's the whole idea of why he got ousted, that like dozens of advertisers said, I'm not dealing with that show because of the activists that were up against them and they won and they got him out of there. And now the advertisers, I don't know if they'll even stay on that station or if they'll go, you know, if it, would they go somewhere else? I mean, it would be like kind of like a Jerry Maguire moment, right? For people who've seen that movie where he has this manifesto and here's how to do it better. And for whatever reason, they get rid of him. Different, obviously, in that movie than the reason they got rid of O'Reilly. But the same thing happened is he's out from his firm. And he says, who's with me? I'm going to do something better and forget all this nonsense. And who's with me? Whoa! And crickets, you know, and I think only his personal assistant, his secretary, went to whatever, and that was the love story of the movie. And I haven't seen it in years, but I think that's what it was. And I forget which real-life sports agent that's based on. And man, I went to law school over 30 years ago with that was one of my thoughts or plans, was to become a sports agent. You'd think I'd remember the names of these sports agents, but I don't remember, and I digress. Anyway, so maybe he'll go form his own, the Bill O'Reilly Network or the BillO'Reilly.com online channel network. But, you know, who again, crickets, who would go with him? Oh, yeah, sure, I'll go with you, but then I'll be boycotted by every feminist activist coming at me because I'm associating with you, or how are you going to act? I'm like, you know, how's this? So who knows? But anyway, never has to work another minute in his life, of course. But if he were 40 years younger, let's say he were 30 years old, and I think he's about 70, but if he was about 30 years old and he was fired, which again, I don't think technically he was, but let's just say person A, about 30, 40 years old, fired from their job as having a TV show or a radio show. Now I can tell you that I did have this personal experience. I had a consultation with a well-known radio talk show host in Chicago about 10 years ago, huge following, and he was ousted from the radio station. I don't remember why, but he was like, what am I going to do next? And someone introduced him to me, and we had a consultation, or I think I was interviewed on that station for something, and so I met him or talked to him, and I was like, well, and here's the point of this video, finally I'll get to it, right? Oh, hey, Phil, Lee Steinberg? Yeah, maybe it was Lee Steinberg, and there's one other possibility. I think there's two of them that both claimed it was them. Maybe it was Lee Steinberg. Very good. Thank you, Phil. Awesome. And so here's the deal. I asked him. I said, well, he was like, man, what am I going to do? I was #1 here for 15 years in Chicago, Ray, big following, hoo-ha, now I'm out. And, you know, no one's going to hire me for a while, or who knows, or whatever, or I'm not even sure if I want to get back into that grind and show up every day at the station, do the 4 hours and the whatever, and get up at 3 a.m. And, you know, what am I going to do? And I was like, well, do you have a list? In my world, that's a no-brainer question. And that's why I'm recording this. In your world, if you're a business owner, that ought to not even be a question. That's like asking, is there air? Do you breathe air? Is there water? Do you ever drink water? Like, you can't survive without it. Like, you can't really call yourself a business person or a smart business person, a sharp business owner, unless you have a list. And it's because of this situation. Not everybody is going to get $25 million a year, of which you could put something in the bank. I'm sure he pays a ridiculous amount of taxes, although he probably has an army of tax people minimizing that. But come on, he can live if he never works another minute of his life. And like I said, he's probably past or at the age of retirement anyway, and he could just go if he wants, and he'd be fine. But again, say you're younger, like right now, me, you're watching this video. Do you have a list? The answer's got to be yes. You got to have a list. So here's Bill O'Reilly. Had millions. Again, I don't know. I'm woefully ill-prepared for this video with statistics about Bill O'Reilly, because I'm not really talking about Bill O'Reilly stats of how many viewers, what. But I'm sure he had millions of people watching the show. So how many of those millions of loyal fans, and I'll bet he had a lot of loyal fans because he's on like every day for 20 years or whatever he was, #1 show and whatever, lots of millions of loyal fans. He did not make the same mistake that this radio, obviously I won't mention his name, this host that I was talking to in Chicago 10, 15 years ago made. He didn't have a list. He was like, what? No, I don't have a list. How could I have a list? They're just listening. How would I get a list? I'm like, how'd you get a list? So here's an answer. How you get a list? To do something similar to what Bill did. and or may do in the future again. But what he would do, he would offer something of value, and in return, you would join his list. He called it becoming a member. Or maybe you would just, hey, email me, or answer this poll. What do you think? He would do that once in a while. And I'm sure there was lots of other ways that he encouraged people to contact him. And therefore, he would have their email address and contact information in return. And especially became a member, he'd have the credit card on file, for crying out loud. So now all he has to do is come up with something else to offer him. And today he could say it's the Bill O'Reilly separation from Fox News special that my previously priced whatever, and you can have it for only this much for one day, whatever. Or come out and say, I got a new thing that I'm going to not go on to TV anymore, but every day I'm going to do a half an hour video, only put it on BillO'Reilly.com or whatever his website is, and only my members are going to get to watch it. So now his most loyal rabid fans who say, I don't believe he did that, or I'm still loyal to him, or whatever, would be able to still watch it. And instead of having to watch commercials or watch the Fox News channel or any other channel he would go to, they could watch it right there on the computer, whatever. But they'd have to become paying members. So he would get that 25 million from having a million members, paying him $25 a year for that, or 100,000 members paying him $20 a month. It's 240 a year times 100,000 to 24 million. So he can make that 25 million if you had a list. The key is to have a list. So bottom line, I love to watch Bill O'Reilly because he was a master marketer, promoter of himself. At the end of the show, it was promote the book, promote the website, promote the tour. He's always going on a tour. Oh, I'll be in Skaskalucha, Oklahoma next Tuesday, whatever. For tickets, go to my website or go here. Another reason he could build his list. That's where you have to go for tickets, not go to foxnewschannel.com for tickets. Couldn't that easily be done? Isn't that done by every other show and every other broadcaster? Of course it is. Somehow Bill O'Reilly, brilliant enough and have commanding enough power that he likely had it in his contract, I'm allowed to drive the traffic to my own personal assets. And there's his safety net. Again, not likely he in particular needs one, having earned hundreds of millions of dollars likely, and being about 7 years old. He doesn't need more money coming in likely. But what about you? Your business. If anything happened to your business, if a supplier cut you off, if a competitor came in and took all the business, if a disruptor come in, say you own a taxi cab company, now Uber comes in, you're gone. Say you owned a buggy whip manufacturer 120 years ago, and suddenly Henry Ford comes in and invents the car, you're out of business. Like, you could be disrupted and be out of business at any time. God forbid you get accused and settle lawsuits or sexual harassment. So I won't even mention that happening, but what if? What if you, I don't know, stupidly or at a party somewhere, have a little too much to drink, get in your car, they don't stop you, and you go kill somebody. Something could happen. Something could happen that you are ousted from whatever position that you thought was all secure and everything's rosy and everything's great. Have the list. There's security. You got the list. Now you can communicate with the list. Offer them stuff that they might want. Here's my newest book coming out. Here's my newest movie. That was another thing. We had movies. He's plugging a movie coming up. He's plugging a book coming up. Plugging his own website and a membership and the tour that he's going on. He was plugging and plugging and plugging, and I would just sit there laughing and marveling and going, look at him, go, Bill, go. Oh, and by the way, the most brilliant thing that I love, the underhanded kind of sideways way he did it, was he would do it under the guise of, hey, it's time for viewer emails. And so viewer email number one, hey, that interview you did yesterday with so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. Okay, yeah, good, issue, whatever. Next one, hey, that interview you did the other day, or that thing you said in your opening monologue, or whatever this, okay, yeah, okay, whatever. And then I'm like, and I would sit there on my beautiful wife, Michelle, I'm like, all right, are we ready yet? How many emails is that? Are we ready yet? It's time to promote. Next email comes up, Bill, I got your book and I loved it. Boom! Now is that a meaningful email to put on the air? Bill, I loved your book, or hey, Bill, I used your book in my class in school, or Bill, I hate your book, or whatever it was. Let's just mention the book in an email under the guise of, oh, it's viewer email. And now, what do you think he gets to say in response? Yeah, get the book by going here. And if you get it, I'll give you this also, and I'll sign it for you, and I'll do whatever. And then the next one will come in and go, Bill, aren't you ever coming on your live tour to Nowhereville, Ohio? Hey, we're not coming to Nowhereville, Ohio, Joe from Cleveland, but we are going to be in whereverville next Tuesday at 8 o'clock. So buy your tickets, go to my website, boom. And then, and on and on. So it was always it was brilliant. It wasn't under the guise of, and now that I'm done with the content of the show. I'm now going to just purely promote myself like crazy. And that's also going to allow me to maybe, although I'll deny doing anything wrong and getting fired from this thing, because I can operate with pure impunity if I ever did that, although I deny it all, because I've created my own safety net that I don't give a rip because I got my list. And so you want to be the same way. Okay, so who's here? Rich! Drew Rosenhaus. Yeah, see, I thought it might be not Lee Steinberg, and it's definitely not Scott Boras, though, right? Scott Boras is Scott Boras. He's known for other things than being a loving, show me the money, I love you guy. He shows them the money, but he's certainly not the Lee Steinberg or Drew Rosen. I know both of them claim parts of them are in it. Yeah, there's the other name. So thank you, Rich. And Phil, oh, sorry. I thank you. Okay, so I thought, Bill, you were making, Phil, were making fun of me when you said your post sounds autobiographical, as if I am a sexual predator. That denies it, however, not really. It's all false. But then thank you for the compliment. I'm living proof of the always be marketing part. Although, but I'm not. See, I'm nowhere near a Bill O'Reilly, because I would have already, or maybe now's the time, but I would have so many times on here said, oh, like I would do it like this. So here's how you do it, by example. So Phil says, your post today sounds autobiographical. You're living proof of it. I would say, thank you, Phil. And you can find out more about that by going to stevesipress.com, where you can get my free report, the 5 biggest mistakes people make when they market their business, or you can watch my free video of what. That's how Bill O'Reilly did it. He would take a question, an email, in this case, a comment on a video, and he would turn it into blatant self-promotion, just blatant and brilliant and outright. And I don't do it obviously, by definition. If you've looked into my bank account, I don't have $100 million in there, or whatever he's got. I'm not #1 in the world in my time slot. I didn't build an entire network, cable news channel myself single-handedly, and been #1 for 20 years. So I'm far cry, but I appreciate the compliment. But I am a big fan of promotion and marketing. So again, when I said I used to laugh and chuckle as he did, I laughed with him. I hope you didn't think I, for any reason, said I laughed at him or thought that was terrible or something. I know there's plenty of you didn't build that socialist business people that, business is terrible and he shouldn't be doing that. And I'm sure there's tons of those people. And those are probably very similar to the same people that are very happy that he's out and that they boycotted and forced him out and all that. And good for them. It's great victory and all that. I'm not here to, it's neither, that stuff doesn't matter to me at all. I'm focusing on the marketing. So hopefully I'm a good example of always be marketing. Always be promoting yourself and always build that list so that and that's another point maybe you're making is, yeah, I was ousted. I was not ousted, but I was an independent representative of a company, and they did all kinds of illegal, underhanded things to try and crush my business. Their CEO ended up getting, similarly to Bill, agreed to leave. So she got bounced out of there. I'll just say it. Of course, she got bounced out of there and fired. And then my email inbox and my private message on Facebook blew up with people thanking me. Hey, you were the straw that broke the camel's back. Thank you for all the employees there. Thank you for getting her fired. And finally, she's out of here. And and I was like, technically, though, she wasn't fired. Technically, it was the same here. She agreed to leave or whatever. So, right, that did happen to me. And they could not crush my business. That company was 10 times bigger than me. I had my little local chapter promoting them and being their independent chapter director, fan club director, whatever you want to call it, of one of 3 in Chicago. So just even a small area of Chicago. Although by that time I had 2 of Chicago, but still one little area, and they had 100 of those all around the country, and they're all around the world. And they had a couple of thousand members probably. They always boasted they had 25,000, but for another day I'll shoot a video proving that not proving, but it's almost impossible they ever had that many. But again, great marketing, great promoting. But the bottom line, yeah, I have my list. They could not crush me. They could not even compete with me. They tried to compete with me for like 2-3 months, and then they were done. That's a big point. They did have the list. Again, I was their representative. So every time a new member for them came through me, I sent it to them. So they had my list. And that was one of the things I said. I'm like, this is what you do. You use the list that I gave you. I put all these people in to your membership, and you're going to use my own list to try and crush me and compete with me. I mean, who does that? How unethical, besides all the illegal things they did and the underhanded and unethical. Really? And no one can believe it that knows anything about what happened. And like I said, that my email blew up and whatever, and like, unbelievable. But anyway, I digress again. But the point is, it's not just the list. The key part is, and I know all you guys here know that. And Joe, what's up, Joey? You know how to get easy money. I didn't say easy, and here's the point. Thank you for saying that. The point is, it's not the list. It's the relationship with the list. You want to build a relationship with the list, because that's the point in my situation. I would get a new member. Let's say Phil became a member of my group. I would send in a form that he filled out saying I'd be a member. I would send that in to the head office of this company I was independently representing, and they would start sending him their newsletter and inviting him to their conferences and buy their products and whatever. And I was independently encouraging and representing or discouraging, if which is more often the case when someone would ask me, do you think I should buy this? And I'm like, is that really what you want? But I was objectively recommending on their behalf, but everyone knew I was a representative of them. So clearly I was in favor of their newsletter as opposed to, although I was in favor of lots of newsletters. But anyway, I had the relationship with the list. They only had the list. They had Phil's name and address and email, phone number. But I had the relationship with Phil. And I told him that. I said, you're really crazy. You think you're going to compete with me just because you have the contact information. You think you have the list. Showing, of course, that even though they're running a marketing educational company, they knew nothing about marketing. It was horrible. The people running it still are almost basically clueless. You can see in everything they do, they're clueless. But at a property, do direct response marketing and market a business. So how it's amazing people are paying them for their advice on how to do marketing. They, by example, don't know what they're doing. And this was an example. I said it right to him. I said, do you understand that, like, you have the list? I willingly gave it to you, that you're now turning around and trying to compete with me, but you don't have a relationship with the list. They didn't understand that. So they were like, whatever, we have the list. We're going to invite them to our meeting. And we're going to tell them this, and we're going to offer them this, and they could offer them all kinds of better stuff than me. They have more money, and they're much bigger guns. They were like, we'll give everybody, I offered a free book if they attended my meeting. We'll give them 2 free books and a free $200 course, and we'll try and compete with that, Steve. And of course I can't. But one thing I do know is, the name and address and email of Phil Brakefield. I happen to know Phil. I know his business. If he was married, I'd know his wife. I'd know his kids. I know what's going on. I'm talking about Phil, talking about a relationship. Phil, how many times we played golf together? That's, 4, or the way I play, it's 5 hours of 4 hours of looking for balls and a few swings in there. And we're having fun playing golf. We must have played, 4 or 5 times, and how many times we hang out over the years. And like, you really think just because you have Phil's name and email, you're going to compete and beat me to encourage Phil and advise him what meeting to go to or where to go? I mean, don't be ridiculous. So the smart thing Bill O'Reilly's done, and Joey, this is what you got to do, not just get the list. You got to work hard to build that relationship with the list. It's no joke. I mean, I didn't just say what I said about Phil. I actually did build it. And Rich. Now, Rich was a customer of mine in my first multi-million-dollar business that I totally screwed up, my fantasy sports game business, I started it in '84. And he became a client when I first opened it up past my friends and family to the general public. He was one of my first 20 or 30 customers. And back in 1986, I'm guessing, 85 or 86. And I built a relationship with Rich. Here we are, 30 years later, on Facebook, talking to each other. He wasn't just a number to me and a customer and an address and send him the newsletter and add up the scores for his team. There were no PCs back then, no personal computers. I did all the adding up for anyone that plays fantasy sports. I had to compile everything by hand and write the stories in the newsletters. Hey, Rich did great this week. I type it all out, mail it out. And then he'd call every week. Here's how I'm setting my lineup. Here's a trade I made. Hey, Rich, how you doing? What's going on? Hey, your son, is he going to be a major leaguer or not? What's going on? How's the little league team that you're coaching doing? Blah, blah. How's your company doing? He had Stretch Lawn Industries. That's why you see his nickname, Stretchy. So we're talking about it. And I remember now after I screwed that thing up and bankrupted it, when I started my door-to-door sales career, and I had a chance to travel and troubleshoot an office in North Carolina where Rich lived. It was about an hour and a half away. I ridiculously, drove an hour and a half to do door-to-door sales and drove by hundreds of thousands of possible customers because I just wanted to go say hello to Rich. So I built a relationship with the customers, with the people on the list. So that's what you got to do, Joey, anybody else. First you got to build a list, then you got to build a relationship with a list, and then no one can stop you. So wherever Bill goes, I don't know because I never did, opt in to his list or even go to his website. I don't even know what it looks like or get one of his books. I never got one of his books. I know I've seen a couple of his movies. I know I saw one. It was the Reagan movie because the star of it was the star of Animal House, the greatest movie of all time, which I made a vow when I first saw it. I was going to see every movie by every one of those actors ever. So I had to watch the Reagan movie because Otter was Reagan, which is hilarious if you think about it. Isn't that the most ridiculous character? Animal House Otter is the president of the United States. Hilarious. Had to watch it. But I never got his book or joined his membership or whatever. But I have a feeling if I did, man, he would email me and he would, tell me a story about something, or hopefully he would hopefully he did. Because otherwise I'm way off base and everything I said is out the window. If he only got name and email or whatever and did not communicate with him and did not let him into his personal life and share photos of when he's on vacation and talk to him about things you just couldn't get from the TV show. Here's an inside thing, pictures of behind the scenes of me interviewing the president. Here's me and Obama in the White House behind the scenes. You can only get here. And I got to tell you, it's very interesting. When I came into it, he's got to share those secrets and tell those stories and build that relationship so his list really likes this access and this communication, this relationship they feel they have with him. That's what you got to do. So it's 2 steps. Not just build a list, but certainly you have to do that. Then you got to work, and you got to constantly, and I keep saying work, but if it's really work, to like people and love them and build a relationship, you're in the wrong business if you own a business of any kind. I'm just here to tell you. Like, if you own a business and you don't love people and you don't love building relationships with them and you are just a wham, bam, slam them in and move on to the next one guy, like, bully for you. But, I always say, like, you can never become my client because my stuff and everything I talk about here in the videos will work, but it won't work nearly as well as it will for a business that provides excellent product or service and builds a relationship with their customers, their clients, their members, their patients, whatever you call them. So that I hope you're doing just like Bill O'Reilly did and will likely, how can I say likely? Like I know what he's going to do. If he does show up anywhere else and keeps working, then he's likely to continue to always be building his list. Build a list and build a relationship with the list. So no, Joey, I'm sorry to break it to you. It's not easy. Felicia! Talk about somebody who's awesome and loves people and is awesome at building relationships, and there's not. Felicia was a client of mine years ago. And Felicia was, I think, a year smarter than me about getting the heck out of Chicago a year before me, and now lives near beautiful, fantastic Nashville, Tennessee. So I hope things are fantastic there, and there you go again. And so do I know Felicia and her 2 fantastic daughters? And, I never met your husband, but her husband is a personal trainer, and I know she's helping him, or maybe already did get his thing going. And so here we are, friends on Facebook. When you got to build these ongoing, you got to love people. Now that I don't know, and I get an inkling, although again, not a big student of Bill O'Reilly, but I don't think I ever got an inkling that he is a guy anyone would describe as, boy, he loves people. However, he knows enough to build a relationship, build a list. So if anything happens, you're doing or you're denying you did it, or anyone else is doing or anything, you never want to be out of a job or out of a position or out of business or out of whatever and go, now what am I going to do? Speaking of Rich and my fantasy sports game business, Rich might not even know this, but the one thing I did keep when I crumbled and I never declared bankruptcy, but I basically bankrupted and ruined a multi-million-dollar business and screwed it all up, I kept a list. I kept 1 computer out of my 20 computers that I had in my network back then. I kept one. I kept all the programs I paid thousands of dollars for to run the game, and I kept the name, address, phone number, contact. I kept that for all my customers over the years. 7 years of that business and thousands of customers on the list. I kept that, and I had one safety net. If I didn't find something else, which I did find another opportunity, but I was like, I have a safety net. I can start another fantasy sports game business. Of course, I'd have to call it a different name. And I wouldn't even have used my name and said it was me behind it because I was persona non grata with Rich and all the other customers I had just really let down. And, Rich had a team that was supposed to be permanent. And I remember we talked about you were going to give it over to Mark, his son, when he grew up. I mean, that's how raving fans I had and great loyal fans. And I screwed it all up and did such a disjustice to them by ruining and going out of business with the company. Like, oh, wait a minute, I've been building my team for years, and I sacrificed, instead of having superstars on the team, I got some rookies that I was hoping 3 years from now to still have, and you went out of business, Steve, you suck. And so I didn't want to communicate with these people, so I wouldn't have used my name. But I knew that I had a list of people that loved playing a fantasy sports game. I had the programs to do it, and I could have just put myself as a competitor. Obviously, changed some colors on the brochure. Again, there's no personal computers back then on the brochures. Made a couple of game rule changes to how the game's played or whatever, and I knew I could have relaunched that within a few years. I would have built it back up to another company. So that's bottom line here. What do we got here? Joel Helfer, fantastic. There's a current client, Joel Helfer, who I met about 10 years ago. And it wasn't until only, happens to be almost next week, it'll be about 90 days, because we just attempted, and we have to reattempt to have our first 90-day quarterly review and self-assessment and improve things and get it going for the next quarter with Joel. So after 8 years of knowing Joel and how's Zach doing, and oh, he's graduated college, this and that, Joel and knowing him and his family and caring about him, and he became a client, and now we're going to help him make a ton of money. And Felicia, yeah, I don't see O'Reilly being a warm and fuzzy people over, but he drove traffic from his Fox show to his own website. He may be a personal jerk or not, and he's a smart business guy. You must have, thank you for the transcription of the first few minutes of the video. That is exactly the point of the video. And now thank you for actually putting that right there in the comment. And so now people don't have to, because I have rambled. I think this is like the longest daily one of these videos I've done. So I apologize to be rambling to everybody, but it is an important topic. While the unknowing people of the world might think, what's he going to do now? Uh-oh. He got fired or not or whatever, agreed to leave, whatever you want to call it. What's he going to do? Oh, Bill. Oh, and now, of course, again, it's Bill O'Reilly. He's got all the money he ever needs. But what's he going to do? What's he going to do? Anything he wants to do. He has his list. He still has all those members. Now he's going to lose a certain percent, I'm guessing, of his members. But I'm also guessing he's going to keep a huge percentage who is probably angry that he's no longer on Fox News. And they might even say, I'm never going to watch Fox News again because I love Bill O'Reilly, and whatever you do, Bill, I'm with you. He's certainly got enough of those to put together some more books, movies, tours, offers, personal videos, whatever he can do. He's fine. And you need to do that too, business owner. Because who knows, whenever what you're selling or where you're selling it or who you're doing it with or whatever, it's just going to go away like that with no time to say, now I got to prepare, plan B. Like, have the plan B. Constantly build the list. Thank you, Joey. Everything all right now? And of course, if you want to submit yourself to the rambling, you could watch the video again. So that'll do it for today. Boy, thanks so much to Rich and Phil and Joey and Felicia and anyone else that's clicking like or has come here to the thing and has added so much to it by filling in some of the misinformation and the names I don't remember and the whatever. Thank you all, you guys. I love doing these, and I hope it helps. And I'll be back again tomorrow with another daily Facebook Live video. And I just realized I'm gonna do what Phil's pointing out, and in the spirit of Bill O'Reilly, at the end we're gonna now launch into self-promotion. If you don't want to be on Facebook every day watching these videos, or you miss one, or you just want to go back without scrolling all the way down through Facebook, I take every one of these and I post the video onto YouTube at Steve Sipress. YouTube, Steve Sipress. I post it onto my rhinodaily.com blog. You can see the video. I put it onto my rhinodaily.com podcast, which you can find on iTunes. There that's an audio podcast. I put it onto 5 different Facebook pages that I run, so you can, I guess type in, I don't know how you find Facebook pages, but I have several different audiences and people that I talk to, so I put these there. And of course, they're right here on Facebook. So, you can also tweet me at Steve Sipress on Twitter. You can email me, steve@stevesipress.com, if you have any questions or issues, or, you just want to talk and you want some help with your business. I'll get to know you. I love to get to know people. Doesn't seem like it, but I am a somewhat warm and fuzzy. I wouldn't say maybe warm and fuzzy, but I love people. I love small business owners. Love helping you out. And thanks for being here. And there's all the self-promotion. I also could tell you to go on Amazon.com and buy my books. I've been an author, a co-author of 20-something books that are on Amazon. I got hundreds of videos on YouTube. What else? That's enough. Okay. I have self-promoted. I have shared my thoughts on the news of the day, which is, I think, lighting up the whole cable world or internet world, which is the #1 figure in the history of cable news, is suddenly out of cable news. What the heck's going to happen to him? What's going to happen to the whole station? What's going to happen to anyone else there or whatever or who or ha? Time will tell, but one thing's for sure, he was really smart about promoting himself and pulling that traffic to him personally. Start teaching a younger audience. I teach a younger audience all the time. I don't control who comes to my page and who doesn't. Is there anything I said, Joey, that you think, Joey, you know, the younger audience? Joey's in high school. Like, closest thing, I mean, not to me, you're a man. Like, but is there anything I said here that somehow is over your head because you're 17 or something? Come on now. Let's not be ridiculous. But okay, I mean, unless you mean much younger. Like, to teach 6-year-olds or 8-year-olds, I could do that. Don't have plans for it, but I'll take that into account. But until then, I will continue to speak to adults, and especially to the small segment of adults who are really sharp and really forward thinking and really want to build a solid business or businesses and future for themselves. That's always the audience that I picture in mind that I'm speaking to. Somebody who's an action taker, forward thinking, positive, motivated, excited about building a business, and wants to hear some good ideas, strategies, and tactics on how to do that better. That's what I'll keep doing every single day until I don't sexually assault anyone and get ousted from Facebook. Thanks for being here. Back again tomorrow.